Arizona Congressman and member of the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration Integrity, Congressman Andy Biggs joins me. Good evening, sir. And how do these mayors and jurisdictions justify ignoring the law? When I ignore the law, I'd probably get arrested.
They justify it by simply saying, well, we don't have to do this. Our local officials and our local citizenry have maybe voted on sanctuary status. They take a hard left view of everything. And I'm more like where you are. They're violating the law. This is one of the points that I was making with the sheriff today from Washington State, because in reality, they are violating the law and they're causing a great deal of harm and damage to their citizens.
Well, the supremacy clause, has a hierarchy of what law, trumps which law. Not to use the word trumps, I guess is not a good word in this reference. But, if the federal law says you can't do that, and if you do it, it's against the law. If you aid and abet somebody else doing it, that's against the law. If you look the other way, I don't know where that puts you, but somehow, this is a cost not just to the community where it's the sanctuary city, but the cost is actually, we have drugs. It's widespread. It overflows beyond the border of the jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the way to think of it is the federal government needs to actually prosecute some of these individuals, because I think they can. I think when we find out in Washington State that the Attorney General there is threatening and actually suing the Washington County sheriff, then you look at it and you say, well, what's going on here? What you are aiding and abetting this kind of illegal conduct. That's a crime. It's also a federal crime to harbor. It's a federal crime to prevent ICE or federal jurisdictions such as CBP from receiving information. You cannot do that without violating the law. And so when these individuals say, we don't want you to enforce the law, we're a sanctuary state or city, those people need to be prosecuted. And this is something, we had this in oversight a couple of weeks ago. We had it today in judiciary. And the bottom line is these officials, they should not get immunity for violating the law. It's federal law.
I assume that all these communities have resource problems, and they may not have enough money to deal with a lot of the problems, and I understand that. But regrettably, you can't sort of pick and choose what law you want to follow and what one you don't, unless you're willing to assume the responsibility of what happens when you break the law.
Well, yeah, and this is really very different than saying, okay, we're not going to enforce this traffic stop this time because I have a different priority. What's happening here is they are blanketing and creating an official policy that we are not going to actually follow federal law. We're going to keep these people in our jurisdiction and we're going to house them, whatever they've chosen to do. But the bottom line is, that is a very different animal than saying we're going to prioritize. So we get that. If you're investigating a murder, you might not be able to get somebody for jaywalking.
Or there might, within the criminal justice system, there's prosecutorial discretion. A prosecutor makes a decision not to prosecute something that it may not be worth the overall process of it to the community, or it may be that the person has exceptional circumstances, or maybe they don't have the resources, don't have the evidence. But that's prosecutorial discretion. What you have here, as I understand it, is just mayors saying we're not going to do this, or a community saying we're just not going to follow the law.
Yeah, it's a very generalized policy. It's not an individual type of thing where they're making individual determinations, which is what prosecutors do all the time. Even officers do that. Well, we're going to let you off here. I'm going to give you a warning or whatever. But what's going on here is you have a policy where you are letting, in the instance of Chicago, 1,000 people back into your community over the last 3 years. 1,000 criminals into your community. We know they're criminals, they're illegal aliens, and they're held by police. And that's why we know that they're criminal aliens.
Well, the other option is the voters. We'll see what they do about this. Anyway, Congressman Andy Biggs, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Greta.